Hello and welcome. My name is Marcos and this is Self-Psychology. Thank you for joining me today. As we approach 1 million downloads, I just want to share a thank you to all the people that make this possible. Today, joining me, we have an intern helping me out. And again, this podcast is worldwide, and therefore I'm going to try to keep it basic. Now, this is the second part of a two-part series that started last month. Last month we spoke about self-concept, and this month we're going to talk about self-efficacy. Now, I've spoken about Dr. Ellis various times in the podcast. Dr. Ellis is a famous psychologist who invented cognitive behavioral therapy, rational emotive behavioral therapy. Now, Dr. Ellis always spoke about unconditional self-acceptance. Now, what he said was that to free ourselves from any mental illness like depression or anxiety, all we needed was unconditional self-acceptance. And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense, because if you accept yourself unconditionally, that means that you accept who you are at any given point. So you would know, if you knew yourself totally, you would know that you're not unworthy, which is what causes depression. You would also know that no matter what happens, you'll be able to overcome any adversity that comes your way. So again, you'll be able to overcome this, and you believe in yourself that you'll be able to overcome this, so you won't get the fear, you won't get the anxiety that's tied to this insecurity about yourself, about believing that you won't be able to overcome adversities. So let's review this for a second. So we have this concept of unconditional self-acceptance, that if we held it, according to Dr. Ellis, we won't have the depression or anxiety. Now keep in mind that what I'm talking about is the depression or anxiety that's not biological. Okay, it's the depression and anxiety that we cause for ourselves. In order for you to get the unconditional self-acceptance, I say that you need two things. One is self-concept, a healthy self-concept, and two, a healthy self-efficacy. Now, last month I spoke about self-concept. And briefly, I just like to say that self-concept just basically means that you know yourself. You believe in yourself as a worthy human being. Okay? So if you believed in yourself that you were valuable, okay? And again, you can look at the last podcast that goes more deeper into this. If you believe that today you're here and there's a purpose for you to be here, okay? And even the purpose could be just a potential of you to do something great, either for someone else or for yourself, then you will believe, then you will have a healthy self-concept, okay? This worthiness, this value about who you are. That's the first part. The second part is self-efficacy. And again, if you have the self-concept and the self-efficacy, then you have the unconditional self-acceptance. Now, the self-efficacy. Let's talk about self-efficacy. Basically, self-efficacy is the belief in yourself that no matter what happens, you'll be able to overcome any adversity. So you lose your job, you get kicked out of school, get kicked out of the military, foreclose on your house. No matter what happens, you believe in yourself that things will be okay. Now, of course, things are not going to be great. Things are not going, it's not that you're going to be happy if you lose your house. That's not the idea here. But the idea is that you believe that no matter what happens, you're not going to die. Okay? Nietzsche, the famous philosopher, would say, what doesn't kill you make you stronger. And I think that fits with self-efficacy. Because the idea here is that anything that happens to you, you'll be able to overcome. And you have to believe this. Okay? It's sometimes very hard to believe. Now, self-efficacy. Again, when When you believe in yourself that no matter what happens, you'll be able to overcome it, then that takes away the anxiety. Okay? Anxiety starts with this idea that you have an insecurity, that you don't believe that if you lose your job, for example, that you're not going to be well. Okay? And that's not reality. That's not true. Again, if these horrible things happen, or if these bad things happen, I'm not going to say horrible. If these bad things happen, they're going to be uncomfortable. They're going to be bad. They're not going to be good. However, we as humans are able to overcome it. Okay? Now, the best way to show this, the best way to talk about this is with an example. So I'm going to give you an example about, let's create a name here, Joe. Okay? Joe is a man who's married and has 2 children and lives in the United States. Now, with the economy in the United States right now, a lot of people are losing their jobs. So Joe is afraid. Okay? Now, fear, being afraid, okay, is a part of anxiety. Now, he could go 2 ways with this. He could either be concerned about the situation and act on it, or he could make himself anxious. Now, if you have a healthy self-efficacy, and you believe in yourself, and you know that no matter what happens, you will be fine, right? Then you will probably take the concern route. So let me go with that route first. Joe is concerned that his company is going to downsize. So what does he do? He starts to save his money. He starts to develop a plan of what he's going to do if this happens. Okay? But he's also going to believe in himself, telling himself that no matter what happens, him and his family will be able to overcome it. Now that's reality. Okay? That's reality, because if in fact it does happen, him and his family will not die. Okay? The problem with the anxiety is that he's telling himself, when people get anxious, they tell themselves that it's going to be the end of the world if something like this happens, that they're not going to be able to stand it. And that causes the emotion of anxiety. But we're still talking about concern. So Joe feels concerned, and he creates a plan of what he's going to do in case this happens. Now, everything in Joe's life stays the same. Okay? Maybe he's a little more aware of his spending. Maybe he saves a little more. Maybe he even looks for another job. But emotionally, everything is pretty stable in his life. So his family is not affected. His relationship with his wife and kids are not affected. And life goes on as usual. And his job is not affected. Now let's take the other route. Let's take the route if Joe was an insecure person and Joe did not have a healthy self-efficacy. And Joe started to get anxious and fearful. And he started to tell himself that if he lost his job, it would be the end of the world. Because if he lost his job, how is he going to feed his family? How is he going to pay his mortgage? And all this stuff, right? Now this makes him anxious, and it makes him irritable, and it makes him not get very much sleep, and it makes him not eat well. His relationships start to fail. He starts to have problems with his wife, with his children. He starts to withdraw. And at work, he may start to overcompensate. Or if he's not getting very much sleep, he may start coming in late. Now, he can fulfill his prophecy about losing his job if he's anxious. And the sad part about all of this is that he doesn't have to do this. This is all mental. He doesn't have a healthy self-concept. He can be telling himself, like the Joe with the concern, he could be telling himself, no matter what happens, I'll be fine. Then the anxiety will drop, and he will function better. So you see how, in this example, you have 2 ways that you could go with self-efficacy. Now, if Joe had a healthy self-efficacy, and he was concerned, and he had a healthy self-concept, and he believed in himself, and he believed in his family, then he would have that unconditional self-acceptance that we talked about in the beginning. And he can walk around with confidence that no matter what happens, he will be fine, his family will be fine, and his life is that much more enjoyable. Now again, I just want to emphasize that what we're talking about is reality. Okay, I like to look at myself as like an eye doctor. You know, I like to help people see a little clearer what reality is in front of them. Joe, reality is that the economy is bad and Joe can lose his job. Okay, that's reality. It's how he functions, it's how he accepts or resists the idea of what may happen, which is going to define how he feels about it and his behavior, his subsequent behavior. So you be the choice. You tell yourself which is better for you. Thank you for joining me. Remember, these podcasts are intended as self-help so that you could use some of these concepts and some of these techniques to help yourself minimize anxiety, depression, and some of the self-defeating behaviors that go with it. It's not, the idea of these podcasts is not to deal with someone who is suicidal. So if you are suicidal, please get in touch with an emergency room, call a friend, get some professional help. Live healthy and live happy, and I'll see you here next week.